Good afternoon, and welcome to the Employee Retention Strategies in the Hospitality Industry session. I will now turn the microphone over to our presenter, Dr. Hauwa.
Thank you very much, Alex. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, depending on where you're viewing from. My name is Dr. Hauwa Dogonyaro, and I'll be presenting the paper titled Employee Retention Strategies in the Hospitality Industry. This was actually a research I embarked on in my doctoral study, and it was very interesting. I tell you, it was a very interesting topic. The fact that the whole pandemic thing started during that period, I mean, it was like I foresaw what was going to happen in the, it's not just related to the hospitality industry, but also to other industries. Because if you look at it, basically, it's like when you talk about employee retention, we want to retain our skills, we want to retain what we have already imputed into the employees, the whole training and all that we have invested in them. So we want to retain them. We don't want to keep, changing the employees, because that's going to cost us money in the industry. So it actually came at a very right time. Next slide, please. So just a little bit of insight into the research. The problem statement was the general business problem was that some managers do not understand how to address issues related to employee retention. The specific problem was that some hotel managers lack strategies to improve employee retention. So you see, basically here we're talking about the general business problem that organizations can, kind of like embark on, like that they have. And these issues are related to employee retention. Like I just mentioned earlier, like, okay, what exactly do they need to do to kind of like retain their employees so they don't lose all the skillful employees in the industry? And the specific problem is that most of these hotel managers lack the strategies to improve the employee retention strategy. And, one of the greatest thing is that my interest about having to pick Nigeria, because the study was actually my geographical area was Nigeria, in Abuja. You see, in Nigeria, I come from there, and I can tell you a little bit about it when it comes to the hospitality industry. Most of the employees you find in the hospitality industry are not there because they enjoy what they're doing, or because they're picking up that career as a kind of personal interest. No, they're not interested in building a career being in the hospitality industry. Most times is because of the lack of jobs, lack of employment in the country, that makes them to actually go into the hospitality industry, especially the hotels, because I actually use the hotel as one of the hospitality industry. So the purpose of this qualitative single case study was to explore strategies hotel managers use to improve employee retention, which is exactly what I was trying to explain earlier. The target population for this study consisted of hotel managers in one hotel in Abuja. Abuja is the federal capital of Nigeria, and in Abuja we have over 200 hotels, but most of these hotels are actually privately operated. So I actually looked into one of these hotels to see the ones that have successfully retained their employees, knowing fully well that most of these employees come in because they're seeking for employment, not because they want to build their careers. So the results of this study could actually lead to positive social change by assisting hotel managers with developing and implementing strategies necessary to retain their employees. Employee wages may increase with better benefits, such as health insurance, vacation packages, and overtime pay as the business grows and improves financially. So these are some of the factors that the hotel managers need to kind of, put in their interest in to be able to okay, strategize what they can actually offer the employees to make them remain in the industry. The findings of this study might help managers of the hotel industry to identify the strategies needed in retaining their employees. The results of the study may also contribute to the hospitality industry's success by identifying successful practices for the retention of employees. The research findings could be valuable to hospitality managers by providing insights for developing strategies to retain employees. Business managers could use this study to develop strategies to retain employees and reduce the cost of hiring new staff. So that was what I was trying to say at the beginning. It's better to retain the staff that are already on board than to employ new hands, because it's going to cost the organization a lot of work. And during my research, the theoretical framework used for this study was the Herzberg et al. Two-factor theory, developed in 1959. Herzberg was considered to be the pioneer of the motivation theory because of the emergence of two qualitative different sets of factors, which are the motivation and the hygiene factors. Next slide, please. So we look at looking at these factors individually. We look at the motivational factors. They provide job satisfaction, while the hygiene factors actually looks at the provides and job dissatisfaction. The hygiene factors are indirectly related to the job, whereas the motivators are directly related to the task. The hygiene factors are high in maintain a high level of satisfaction, but also contribute to dissatisfaction when those factors are inadequate. An increase in hygiene factors will not motivate an employee, but may reduce job satisfaction. So managers need to really understand what the motivational factors are and what the hygiene factors are. Motivators and hygiene factors are two separate dimensions that affect various aspects of job satisfaction. So the theory actually includes two elements, the intrinsic and the extrinsic motivation that affect the employee's productivity because of their satisfaction. The intrinsic motivation originates from within an individual, and this, actually includes their religious beliefs, their personal views, how they see things, and political factors in the economy. The extrinsic factors arise from the job context, such as interpersonal relationships with their supervisors, their colleagues, their peers, the salaries, the work conditions, the environment, security, safety, health. Right now it's like every employee is concerned about safety. In fact, safety has become even more paramount right now in organizations than it ever was before. We're all very conscious of our environment. How safe is it to work in the environment? Do you want to go into the office? Do you want to remain online? The whole pandemic has come and has changed our whole lifestyle. So right now it's really so important to employees and to everyone actually. Next slide, please. So the research question was what strategies do hotel managers use to improve employee retention? The procedure I used for this semi-structured interview, the procedures used were semi-structured interviews, which allows a researcher to ask open-ended questions. I was able to meet the hotel managers and ask them questions. Of course, I couldn't do it in person, so it was actually done online because it was actually at the peak of the whole pandemic that period. So businesses were not even thriving that period, and businesses were all looking for ways to survive. They needed some sort of support. There were a lot of layoffs and all that going on. So the participants I selected were 3 hotel managers in one hotel in Abuja, Nigeria, who had successfully implemented employee retention strategies. In this study, there were no criteria for ethnicity and gender requirements. Yes, I used Abuja, which is the northern part of Nigeria, but it wasn't ethnicity wasn't part of my criteria. It was just every employee, every manager that was qualified. Individuals from all ethnic groups were eligible to participate in the study. So the data analysis was the methodological triangulation, which includes data from the interviews and of course data from internal company documents, their policies. I also analyzed the data from the semi-structured interviews for common themes. I created a folder labeled employee retention and study and subfolders for the P1 through to P3, which is participant 1 to participant 3. I updated the research spreadsheet Excel as I collected the data, just for ease of information and be able to analyze. Next, please. Next slide, please. So the themes that came up, were, looked at the work conditions and employee welfare, which is 100% by participants. I mean, it was something they talked about. It was something they looked at that was really very important. Remuneration and compensation, training and career development, reward and recognition. People like to be rewarded for what they've done, and they also want to be recognized in public amongst their colleagues, their peers, right? They want to see that they're making an impact. People like to feel they're important. They're making a positive impact in the business, in an organization. Next slide, please. So the 4 themes identified in this study are the work conditions, the employee and the employee welfare, the remuneration and compensation, training and career development, and reward and recognition, which is what I just talked about in the earlier slide. Based on the themes that emerged from participants and responses, it actually was helpful regarding the Herzberg and 2-factor theory that I used, the combination of retention strategies to improve employee retention. So I also had some limitations, because my limitations were just to the hotel managers working in the hospitality industry. But you said this study can actually be expanded to other industries. Like I said earlier in the presentation, other industries can actually benefit from this study to be able to retain their skilled employees. Participants were identified via a service that's potentially limiting the generalizability, because this is just the hospitality industry. It could have been a different industry. So my recommendations, basically, managers should design a communication and motivation strategy to retain their employees and consider the benefits offered to employees. Because you see, most times business organizations don't look at what, they don't consider what employees actually should, benefit from the business. They're always, most businesses are kind of selfish. They just want what's going to bring in profit. What about your employees? You need to give the employees a voice. You need to make them feel they are important. Not, oh, they're just answerable to you in your business. No, not that kind of attitude in business. So basically, it's looking at it from the angle of the employees. The employees also believe that they should earn probably more than what they're earning. Sometimes, the wage isn't actually in the real proportion with the services offered. So sometimes employees just feel they're not fairly compensated for what they're offering, the services they're offering. So these are all the things that hotel managers need to actually look into. They need to design out a strategy to make sure that, okay, the employees are well taken care of, they're satisfied with the job, and they want to even put in more. Because when employees are satisfied with their jobs, they put in more, they do more. They want to, like, they want to make sure that they put in all the resources they have, their time, their energy, their interest, all of it. They put it in there just to make the business grow. So the social change implications, the implications for positive social change includes increased job stability. Yes, jobs will be stable. I mean, the employees will have a stable job, thereby improving employee retention and economic prosperity for the communities. Like I mentioned before, in a country like Nigeria, people go into this kind of jobs because it's not because they want to build a career. It's out of the situation of the country. The economic situation is like youth are looking for jobs, a lot of unemployment crisis and all of that. So people go into the hospitality industry just to make ends meet, just to be able to provide for their families. So if they're well taken care of, if they are well maintained, they will be able to remain on the job. And of course, the community and family members will benefit from them. Managers in the hospitality industry might use these studies results to gain knowledge and a better understanding of strategies they need to retain employees, thereby creating job stability and security. Managers in the hospitality also can utilize the findings from the study to enhance job creation and improve the capabilities of the workforce by retaining employees. Next slide, please. So I'll mention that these are the references I used all through the study, and it was such an interesting study that I was able to gain a lot from the managers I interviewed. They were very, very, they were actually very sincere and open to me, because with the pandemic situation and all that, they actually mentioned that they were finding it very difficult that period to actually keep their employees. They needed to go back to the drawing board and see what can be done, the strategies they can employ so that, their good hands don't just go off. Because they had issues with patronage. Patronage was very slow, was very, very low that period. And they needed the employees so that they'll be able to create some form of strategies to get in more patronage and business can actually go. So basically my final remarks is to business managers generally, that they actually need to have strategies in place to be able to keep their employees and be able to ensure that employees are treated in the right way. They are given what they deserve and they are properly compensated. Of course, their work environment is not forgotten as well. Now with the pandemic, we're not really sure how businesses will want to operate, in the post-pandemic era that we are right now. Because some countries now have the mandatory vaccination that you have to present before you can actually go into the restaurants to eat, the gym, the I think some other outdoor organizations, outdoor businesses. So it's now left for the manager to really okay, how do they really bring all these strategies together to ensure that not just the employees are satisfied, but also the clients are also satisfied. So with this, I'll say thank you very much to everyone for listening and for attending the presentation. I have come to the end of the presentation. Is there any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I do see that we have Terry Butler that joined. Terry, did you have any questions or want to engage in any dialogue with Dr. Hauwa? I have allowed you to unmute if there's anything that you would like to ask.
Hi, well done. I enjoyed the presentation. Very informative, a concern of mine as well. I'm from the Bahamas. And so the topic that you're discussing about employee retention is very relevant to where I'm at. But I was just wanting to clarify whether or not you said that the managers were from the same hotel or there were three different managers from three different hotels.
No, the three managers were from one hotel. It was a single case study research. So they were all from, yes, is it
same hotel.
three managers from the same hotel? Yes.
Okay. What made you do a single case study? What
okay.
Sorry, I'm only asking because the topic is interesting to me, and from my perspective, I would have I'm looking at something similar, and I just wanted to know if it would have. I mean, what made you choose that kind of like, because if we're looking at the managers from the one hotel, and their approach, that may be a team approach. Whereas we want to, when you're looking to see how different people would, different managers with different settings would combat the same situation, that is what came up for me. So that's an implication that maybe I could branch off into. So that's why I wanted to verify whether your study was based on a single one or whether it was three diverse managers. That's what I just wanted to clarify. But well done.
Okay, thank you. Basically, it's I picked this single case study because that period, like I said, it was a pandemic period. It was so difficult. In fact, my chair he actually told me, he was like, you know what? I don't know how you're going to sort out this study because they're not sure what was going to happen. Because a lot of us were having challenges that period to get into organizations, to be able to, reach out to participants and all of that. So, but what I did was that no manager knew the responses of the other manager. It wasn't a teamwork. It was very confidential, which is part of the ethics I had to, complete. So no one knew what the other person was saying or what the other person was doing with me. So it was they were all at different. It wasn't the same day. It wasn't a same day interview, and it wasn't like I just put three of them together and I interviewed them. No, so they were all like at different times and separately. So I hope that answered your question.
It did.
Hello?
Thank you so much. And I'm just admiring you. I like to see young women just accomplishing things. It just inspires me to know that I can do the same.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm not that young. I'm 45.
I agree with what Terry said, Dr. Hauwa.
You're kidding me.
And I chose to moderate this session. I was very interested in it as well. I spent over a decade in the hospitality or customer service hospitality industry as well. And I find it interesting that, owners oftentimes, you mentioned that, kind of the bottom line and the dollars is really what their focus is on. But the correlation of understanding that the satisfaction of their employees as employees at that establishment is directly correlated to having happy customers as well. I happen to work in a restaurant bar industry or location that we had a lot of regulars and we had a lot of employees that had been there for a decade, 2 decades, which is almost unheard of. So it really speaks to our owner at that time and his understanding of that kind of need for both things to be happening, that they're directly correlated, because more and happy customers is going to increase your bottom line. So
exactly.
Very interesting, fascinating to me. I just wondered if you had any challenges that you experienced during the research process and how you addressed them.
Most of my challenges were even having to get the participants. Like I said, it was the whole pandemic thing. It was, a very troubling time. everybody was just interested in how to run their businesses to make money. So they weren't interested in some sort of, research, or you're coming in for a research and all that. They're like, you know what, you're not bringing money to us. So, and of course it wasn't a paid research. I didn't offer any payment. So it was, on a volunteer basis. So those challenges, what I had to do was to work with their time, because I actually made that open, even though that was going to delay me, because the longer I stayed and the more school fees I'm paying. So, but I tried to just like, okay, let me work with you guys. What's your time? So there was actually like, I had like 7 days interval, between the participants, to actually like, interview them all. So I just spread it out for them. I was okay with the timing they gave me. There was one that the timing was like so wrong. It was like just not okay, because I live in Canada and I was interviewing people in Nigeria. We have 6 hours time difference. So it was like 3 a.m. here, and they're like, okay, that's when they're ready. And I was like, wow, okay. So I had to just, wake up and wear something, look good, not in my PJ and all that, and put on my computer and, so.
Something that we all know all too well.
Mhm. So that was it, and it went well eventually. And of course, the finances were always there. It was really draining on my financials. So, but I was able to get through.
Well, we're certainly glad that you did.
Yeah.
Terry, did you have any other questions? Or I see Dr. Endries has joined us. Any additional questions for Dr. Hauwa?
I'm good. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the presentation, and best wishes and everything.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
Terry.
So I'm always
Thank
here
you.
if you need me, if in whatever research you're doing. Terry, are you okay, is that Terry? Okay, the name is Terry. Are you already writing your dissertation, or are you done?
No, it's just a personal interest in my community.
Oh,
Something, a community oriented interest, looking around and seeing things seemingly dying, and people not knowing what strategies they can incorporate, to
exactly.
retain and sustain and all that kind of thing. So it's a personal
Mhm.
interest, really. Could end up being a
No.
dissertation.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, Dr. Hauwa, and thank you for joining us, Terry. We do appreciate everybody joining us today.